and welcome to Motivational Minutes with Malika. I'm simply here to spread the message of love and to share some of these good, positive vibes. So I would like to start with, I didn't make a motivational video yesterday, and I was struggling to find the motivation. I was struggling to figure out what the blockage was, and it's pretty clear, the vicarious trauma that every black person is probably experiencing. Vicarious, as in it's happening to someone else, but you experience it. You feel the effects of it because it's actually not really happening to someone else if they look just like us, and it could be anybody. It could be anybody who looks like me. So it got me thinking about double consciousness that W.E.B. Du Bois discussed a bit. So I thought, like, what should I come on here and do? Like, what could be motivational at this time? And I figured the one thing that could be motivational at this time is remembering who we are. So the motivation would come from a little bit of history. Okay, but as I was discussing double consciousness, I have a quote by W.E.B. Du Bois. I exchanged the term Negro for African, so if it's not exact, it's because I altered it just a little bit. But when he describes double consciousness, he says, one ever feels his two-ness, an American, an African, two souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled strivings, two warring ideals in one dark body, whose strength alone keeps it from being torn asunder. W.E.B. Du Bois. That's the duality that African Americans experience with, getting up, going to work, and putting on your face, and then coming home and realizing so many people who look like you have been killed, murdered, war on black people. So having to navigate when it's appropriate to feel, what is appropriate to say, to have to navigate the duality of that, for some people to say things like, that was a long time ago. Well, it's 2020 and lynchings are still happening. So, so it's deep. But the one thing I know as far as motivation goes, if we know who we are and we really embrace that, and we remember, and we start to ask the right questions about our melanin, okay? We start to ask the right questions about what makes us so powerful, what makes us such a threat, really. It's deep. It goes way back before any type of slavery, any type of childhood slavery that we would talk about these days. It goes way back. So when you're talking about African history, you should go back. You should go back so that it makes sense for us, so that we remember who we are, because every day we're fighting, every single day. So I wanted to talk to you about the vicarious trauma that we experience daily. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the double consciousness, W.E.B. Du Bois. But more importantly, I figured the motivation should come from understanding us from way back. So I just want to talk a little bit about something that goes way back. I have this book, In Praise of the Black Woman, Ancient African Queens by Simone Schwartz Bart. I was fortunate enough to go to Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University, FAMU, got there not knowing that we had a black psychology department. So my mentor was Dr. Kobe Cambon, rest in peace, and to learn so much about all these different psychologists and therapists that look like me, that are actually out here focusing on black psychology and focusing on Afro-centered worldviews and different things like that. So, so I do have one specific person that I wanted to discuss with you today. She's known as the Queen of Egypt, Tahi. Okay? You might think to yourself, like, oh, Egypt. No, let's go way back. Before it was termed Egypt, it was Kemet. Okay? And that's where everybody came to get their education. The education was 40 plus years, and it encompassed everything. We're talking about reading, writing, math, spirituality, harnessing your powers, everything. Everything. Education, everything is one. So do a little bit of research on that. Kemet, going way back before it was Egypt. A lot of people think Egypt is not in Africa. Okay, so it is, and it was Kemet, and that's where people like Alexander the Great went to learn, period, to learn and bring your information back to Europe. So, okay, we have Tahi, Queen of Egypt. Let me tell you a little bit about this queen. Little known since she was black, seldom studied by Egyptologists, Queen Tahi is nonetheless among the women who have most marked human history. Though of humble origin, she was the pharaoh Amenhotep III's great, because they call him, he's also known as Amenhotep III, Amenhotep the Magnificent, so various things like that. You might say, Amen, right. You might wonder, why do we say Amen at the end of prayers? Well, we're going way back. Okay, so it's definitely a connection there. Anyway, she was the royal spouse of Amenhotep III about 3,500 years ago, and her power stretched throughout the empire from the furthest tip of the northeast to the kingdom of Napata in present-day Sudan. Her beauty was legendary, but it was her personality that especially illuminated the region of Amenhotep III, the reign of Amenhotep III. She counseled her husband in all things, participated in the country's foreign affairs, and very often she spoke directly to foreign princes. Such was her influence on the pharaoh, so much that she seemed the supreme authority in the empire. When the king died, Tahi's son, Amenhotep III, better known as, excuse me with the names, my ancestors forgive me, but I'm trying. Akhenaton, which means in the tongue of the ancient Egyptians, servant of the sun god Aton, came into power. It is the decisive role she played alongside her son that made Queen Tahi one of the most important figures in human history. But check this out. Up until then, the Egyptians, like other people, they believed in multiple gods. They saw the world around them as governed by several gods whom they adored in various temples. But suddenly, under the influence of his mother, Queen Tahi, the new pharaoh proclaimed that in the first time in human history, a single god, Aton, the sun, whom he imposed upon the empire. So when you think about that, when you really think about, okay, so we say Amen at the end of a prayer, that's at the time when they proclaimed one God. So there is a link between saying Amen and our history. Lastly, I just want to, I wanted to go ahead and give you that. If we remember more of who we are, we can rise in a whole different kind of way. Okay, I want to leave you with some positive affirmations. I am more than enough. In a world where we struggle to prove ourselves and fit in, I am more than enough. I am powerful. I am worthy. Remember to say them to yourself. Encourage your friends. Encourage your family. As much as I love humanity as a whole, I want to give a special shout out to black men. I love you. A very special shout out to black women. I love you. Black children and black babies. I love you. Thank you.